It's a fact you're not here. You ain't even real, but you still bring me fear. You make my bones so tired that my soul stands up. But now I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. It's like I'm starting to need to bleed to fill this cup. Oh.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to The Working Wing, the podcast where every week we take the news from around the country and around the world and break it down from our own unique working leftist perspective. My name is Tim Schultz, and joining me, as always, my dear friend, longtime debate partner, and a man who would like to assure any federal agents listening that he is merely speculating in a humorous mode, Gillian Collins.
Only in good humor, only in good fun. Not to. It's all like just a big old art performance right here. That's all this is, performance art. Right.
Yeah.
Here.
What I mean, Succession is the gift that truly keeps on giving, and speculating in a humorous mode, I think, is one of the great gifts that we've gotten from Succession.
Oh yeah, and yes, I love it too because it's also written by like another crazed socialist who is isolated and understands dialectical materialism and knows how these how these folks do things
and understands the broken, empty nature of the rich. But we will get to all of that later towards the end of our show. First, I believe we are going to be turning towards the justice system. How much have you been paying attention to all of this abortion pill nonsense that has been going on?
I haven't heard about it. Like I wasn't it supposed to go to the Supreme Court or to a higher higher federal?
So caveat before we get into this.
Yeah.
All of everything that we're about to say could well be null and void by end of business on Friday.
Stays in the description, people.
Yeah,
in the description.
Because yes, the Supreme Court originally was supposed to make a response to everything that was going on by Wednesday.
Yeah,
and then on Wednesday they pushed it back to Friday, leading some to speculate that there might actually be like a real honest to God ruling coming out.
Yeah. Okay.
But so basically all of this started what was that? Like it's all been happening like on Friday. So I think it was 2 weeks ago from today when Judge was it Mark Kismaric, a Christian fundamentalist judge from Texas. We'll get into how fucked up that part is, but basically a bunch of right-wing Christian groups and their puppet doctors that they have lined up brought a suit against the FDA saying that their approval of the abortion drug mifepristone that happened 23 years ago was invalid, and seeking to get the approvals thrown out, as well as all other actions that they've taken regarding the abortion drug in the past 23 years.
On the basis of what?
On the basis of a bunch of junk-ass bunk science that this fucking Christian fundamentalist from the Fifth Circuit in Texas just parroted word for word.
Yeah.
I was playing hooky from work a little bit yesterday, left a couple hours early, and I ended up spending that time just sitting there and reading this guy's decision. And it's absolutely fucking surreal because he's just like right away, his first fucking footnote of the decision is I'm not going to use the term fetus in this decision. I'm going to use the word unborn human because I think that's more scientific.
Oh my God.
That sets the tone he followed. This was a fucking bizarre, wild decision that just quoted verbatim every fucking talking point from the anti-choice people who had come before him.
Yeah.
It was like trying to revive the Comstock Act, the fucking Comstock Act of like 1875 or whatever the fuck, the one that made it illegal to like mail condoms. He tried to bring that back, even though specifically the court said, I think in 1975, to be like, oh yeah, no, like all the contraception and abortion stuff in that law is no longer valid. He's trying to bring it back up. This ruling is hugely problematic on so many ways. But like really the details of it aren't going to matter unless everything goes very, very badly. But basically his decision was like, oh yeah, no, you're right. The FDA was wrong 23 years ago. It's now illegal to manufacture this, and all the other, like the two actions in general were like, you no longer, the things that the FDA had done since 2000 are making it so that you no longer had to have like multiple in-person appointments with a doctor in order to get the drug. And also then in 2020, when the pandemic happened, they made a ruling that you could now mail the abortion pill, and he undid both of those. So then, after he released this unhinged decision, it goes to the Fifth Circuit Appellate Court, which is also dominated by conservatives and known for equally unhinged decisions. They actually blocked They dismissed the part. They put a stay on the part of the ruling that said that the original FDA decision was invalid, but they let his reversal of the other two things go through.
Okay.
So, it's also worth noting that also on the same day Kaczmarek released his decision, another judge in Washington issued an order forbidding the FDA from pausing access to the abortion drug in jurisdictions where abortion is legal under any circumstance. So that sets up like the FDA is now being bound by two directly conflicting federal court orders.
Yeah.
So the Supreme Court has to do something.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They have to do something.
And this is kind of like, yeah, it is definitely one of those fights that we were kind of worried about with the ruling of what ruling repealed Roe versus Wade? What do we call that again? It starts with a D.
Yeah, fuck, I forget what the actual
damn it. Here, I'm just gonna look that up.
Dobbs.
Yes. Dobbs.
Yes.
Yeah, but ever since Dobbs, people on the left have kind of been screaming about like, well, it's not just worrying about like where abortion is for some people, because some people like have kind of been going like, well, whatever state like we're in, like we still have access, or like
right.
But this is the type of thing that like these fundamentalists are going to try and do. They're going to try and seize power,
and we have some of those sitting on the Supreme Court now. Like, if the Supreme Court were to uphold any part of this law, it would not only directly conflict with their statements in Dobbs, being like, we are not banning abortion. Every single Alito said that. I think Thomas was the only one saying like abortion should just be outlawed. But like Alito, Thomas, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, every one of those motherfuckers said, we are not banning abortion nationwide. We are returning the decision to the states where it always should have been.
Yeah.
That was the core of their ruling.
Okay.
And if they were to go through with this decision, it would directly contradict that ruling that they made less than a year ago. It would also create a new standard of federal law that has never been the case before, where a federal court can just toss out the regulatory decisions of like specific regulatory decisions by federal agencies. Where like where like the FDA has looked at studies and conducted multiple studies over the past 23 years, all of which have proven that this drug is safe.
Yeah.
And the federal court is just being like, no, we don't like your science. We're throwing away this decision. That has never been the case in American law.
Well, is like the bunk science, is it just kind of based off of the whole like, yeah, this whole thing, like this whole like it's where we're basing it off of like the fetuses being people, or is it?
Well, that's one thing. That's one thing that like this judge tried to slip in of like oh no, when you abort a 16-week-old fetus, you are killing a human being, and therefore all states should be required to make abortion illegal. That is like one of the arguments that he raises in his decision. Like, this is a dangerous ass decision.
Yeah.
But like, even reading it, like there's a part where he was like, oh yeah, according to this one study, as many as 16% of women feel that they regret abortions after they have them. It's like, all right, so another way to say that is that 84% of women who have abortions do not regret it.
Right.
That's the actual way to say that.
Yeah. or at very least are neutral to don't regret it.
Right.
like pretty fucking much. Jesus Christ. I mean, and it just is sad too, because it's just like, well, damn, like these conservatives are so good at just like getting these like huge branches of power and then just running with it. Like we're absolutely running with it, not caring about if it going against their own decisions, not giving a shit about it going against like any other and not even trying to argue like. And that's the thing, they try to, I'm sure this like all this debunked science stays very far away from like any sort of real women's health stuff. I'm sure they're trying to go off
no, there's nothing about, they do not even raise the like, no, he does not even raise ever the negative effects of carrying an unwanted pregnancy or pregnancies that could like directly harm a woman.
Yeah, I think to honestly get through,
they never make any notion to that whatsoever.
Any conservatives, I think they really need to like hone in on how much women's health is an issue. Where it's just like, because they're not going to acknowledge
that's never going to work, Killing, because they don't think of women as people.
I mean,
it's in their fucking holy book. Women are not people in Christianity. Like, well, it's not a thing for them. Well, that's not a valid way of attack, because they do not consider women to be valid people.
I mean, but there are a lot of like conservative women that like are still like voting and like vote for this type of shit too. But like, honestly, if we can make it like more apparent that it's like, well, you're gonna have to carry like things to term that are going to harm
They don't give a fuck. The women voting for this know that if they ever want an abortion, they're just gonna get a fucking abortion. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I still think that there is like some way to like get through to at least like people
these rich ladies who are like anti-choice. They know that if they ever need an abortion, at worst they'll have to fly to Europe to get an abortion.
But Tim, if it was only rich women voting like this, like they wouldn't have like a full base. Like they are getting like poor, more conservative women to do this too, like to believe this shit. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at too. Is it's like the people who you can talk to. I'm not talking about like these rich fucks who are like Succession women who like we're never gonna like aren't gonna like even like speak to us for 2 seconds. like to maybe ask like where the shit like where the canned beans are down the aisle, and then before spitting on us when we don't even work there. Like,
honestly, well,
she wouldn't go shopping either. But
honestly, like convincing people, like we've already won that fight. Something like 76% of people believe that some right to abortion should exist.
Keep fighting, Tim. We ain't won it. No.
Well, no, I'm saying like what your point is that like Republicans, when it comes to the judiciary, especially, have been playing a different game for like the past 40 fucking years.
Yeah.
I had crunched some number on this. Like, all right, just looking at like the past 20 years. George W. Bush, so the Federal Appeals Court, the Fifth Circuit that is right now got Kaczmarek's decision in their hands. That's where like real American law is made.
Yeah.
Like, especially in this current reality where like the legislature can't do anything, like most significant law is going to be made in the appeals courts.
Yeah.
And we've been getting our fucking asses kicked. Trump got 53 appointees to the federal appeals courts in 4 years. Obama got 38 in 8 years.
Well, apparently,
George,
Obama left a lot of spots open.
Well, no, because the Republicans have been playing a different fucking game.
Yeah,
like they have not been engaged. Like Democrats, and we'll get to Nancy Pelosi later. But like Democrats and like neoliberals, they have been like trying to approach the justice system on like a good faith basis, where they pretend that like, you know, judicial nominees are actually going to do the things they say they're going to do, or like believe what they tell the Senate Judiciary Committee, and that's just not been the case. Like Kavanaugh and Gorish both fucking said that they considered Roe v. Wade settled law, and guess what? They were fucking lying.
Yeah.
They were committing fucking perjury to the Senate Judiciary Committee when they said that they considered Roe v. Wade settled law. They did not. And like you can find examples of that over and over and over again, where it comes to the judiciary, Democrats have been walking around with fucking bags over their heads, pretending that everyone is like on the same page. And that's not fucking true.
They're pretending it's fair. Like they're pretending that it's like that, like CNN is neutral, and that like it's all not going to be biased, and that the system will work itself out. And it's like it only works itself out because of checks and balances.
Right. And when you put like a Supreme Court justice next to somebody's name, that means that they are like elevated to some like holy tier where like they are beyond the mess of partisan politics. And like even just a cursory look at what's happened in this country over the past 20 years shows that that's not the fucking case. And like part of that is like the Republicans have massive multi-million-dollar lobbying groups, the Cato Society and the Federalist Society. That like they spend time and money and effort on recruiting and grooming judges for the federal bench, so that like when they get a guy in there, when the moment's right, they can get through like 4 dozen fucking judicial nominations to the appellate court in a year, because they've got them all lined up and ready to rubber stamp. The left,
even if one doesn't have one, like the left
doesn't have that. The left is like going through like, oh, who's a good justice? Like oh, we just need to look at all the lawyers and judges that are out there and find the good ones and bring them up. The Republicans have been making their own justices for like the past 40 years. They have a fucking fascist judge factory that they've been running at every fucking level of the judicial system throughout the entire country for years. And that's how you end up with a decision like the one that Kaczmarek issued. That's why we're sitting here being like, oh man, I hope the Supreme Court doesn't like fundamentally like overturn multiple pillars of American law and like contradict their own words from 9 months ago. Gosh, I hope.
Yeah. Like at the tail end, all because of the tail end of the Trump administration, a fucking Ruth Bader Ginsburg did what she said she wasn't going to do and died.
Oh, but she can plank for so long, Killian. You should see her workout. It's crazy. The notorious RBG cult that neoliberals got consumed by.
Oh yeah, like
from like in the Trump period. It's fucking and the people who called for RGB for Ruth Bader Ginsburg to retire in like 2015 or like late 2015, the late months of 2016 when we knew what was about to happen, like Ruth fucking retire. and we got fucked there. We got super fucked there. But of course, Mitch McConnell was also doing his like bad faith, like they couldn't get Merrick. I mean, the fact that like Obama chose Merrick Garland to nominate because he thought the conservatives would let him appoint Merrick fucking Garland, like a neoliberal dumbass, to the Supreme Court.
Well, that's the thing. It seems like their roster's fucking thin.
It is thin because they haven't been putting resources to this. They're like, oh no, you just got to find some good lawyers. And like, conservatives are mean, but like if we just find a, moderate neoliberal piece of shit, they'll let us.
They'll bite with that. And it's like, not necessarily.
No, they are not. Yeah, exactly. They are not looking for another like Anthony Kennedy, who was like a legit like wild card on the court. They don't want that. No. They want their fucking guys.
And you gotta play to win like that, because they're playing.
Yeah,
to win.
You do.
Like, yeah, like they. Well, that's the thing though. Is that like at the end of the day, it's like the Democrats are like they're still the ones willing to capitulate and go like, well, we still want to live like the rich Republicans, as opposed to like have to go to the grocery store again. like we don't want to go back to those people.
Right. We
people
don't
who represent
anybody who might overturn Citizens United, because that would fuck with our bank accounts too.
And that's like one of the biggest problems. I mean, like, yeah, with so much,
it's frustrating. And then you hear Neil will be like, oh yeah, we really need a constitutional amendment to overturn the Citizens United. It's like, no,
who's going to vote for that? Like what people?
Right. Well, it's just like Republican, like clearly the conservatives on the Supreme Court do not give a fuck about precedent.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't matter that that's like one of the core pillars of common law throughout, like, the entire basis of Western law. But like conservatives on the bench do not give a fuck about that.
No.
So like to say that like you need a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United is bullshit.
Yeah.
You just need to get your guys on the court and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And then speaking of getting guys on your court and Republican and neoliberals being dumbasses, let's talk about Diane Feinstein.
Only surpassed by that fucking Pennsylvania senator, the guy who's had health problems but has not been there. The guy who looks like a walking penis, like
but like
a dick with ears.
Yeah, and really that guy should be out too. But,
yeah, he should.
But the problem is that Feinstein sits on the fucking Judiciary Committee, and like the one thing that Democrats need to be doing is getting fucking liberals onto the bench. That's got to be their main priority, because that's like the biggest thing that they can actually do. And guess what? Without Feinstein, there is no Democratic majority on the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah.
Every day she's gone, progress on appointing new judges is just not happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I mean, but it's fucked up too, because it's also like, well, we're gonna keep the person on the bench who like kind of got us into this mess, like who was on the Senate Judiciary Committee, who was like not too concerned with like,
who watched the Amy Conway Barrett proceeding, was like, yes, this was a good proceeding. Thank you, Lindsey Graham, for leading this very good, very fair, very normal.
Oh my
proceeding.
God! Don't get me started on fucking Lindsey, dude. Don't get me started on that fucking soy boy Southerner right there. Like, my God, you can get my blood fucking boiling, man. Yeah, that is a complicated issue, because like I have wanted. I mean, granted, it's like, yeah, and also too, it's like there needs to be. I feel like there needs to be age limitations. We're getting to that.
There should be age limitations. There should be mechanisms to force senators to resign, but there isn't.
Yeah,
there isn't, and there's no mechanism to like hold Clarence Thomas accountable for all the shit that he's been up to.
Oh my God!
Like it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is it's like the whole good behavior and accountability thing with a judge. It's like there's no standard for that. Like none whatsoever. It's like
none whatsoever.
Fuck it, that's fucked up. You were also saying it's like something is gonna like relay this all into Pelosi. So
like Nancy Pelosi is just, she has watched all of this happen. She has been a leader of the Democratic Party, going back decades, but especially since 2008.
Yeah.
Like she was in the House and judicial appointments happened in the Senate, but like she saw what the fuck they did.
Yeah.
And people are calling for Diane Feinstein to resign so that we can like appoint fucking justices. And what does Nancy Pelosi do? She comes out and says anybody who wants her to resign is sexist.
Oh yeah. She used that. I mean, she used the old Bernie Sanders smears of like, if they have a point and you don't acknowledge it, just call them sexist. just run that at them. Doesn't matter at all. It's just like, hopefully the smear will get out there and people will be so offended by the accusation that they'll just go along with it because they don't want to be labeled as sexist.
God, it's like Nancy Pelosi is one of the most useless people in modern American politics.
I mean, I think she had a job and she did her job that she was really supposed to do very well. I think with her fake job that like she pretends to do that, like, is, as a Roman Roy would say in Succession, like, who the game that like all the people out there who vote out there are like doing, like she did a very terrible job of that, of like, actually representing the people who vote for her. She did a horrible job of that. And like leading the Democratic Party, like to represent more the people who vote for the Democratic Party and truly support them with their votes. She did a terrible job representing them, but
right, because she ain't there for them. She is there for the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is
there for their donors.
Yeah, they're for their donors.
They're there for their donors. They will back them up no matter what.
It's unbelievably frustrating, and depending on what the Supreme Court does this week, I'm sure we will be back talking about this next Friday.
Yeah, probably it will be an ongoing issue. But actually,
in the meantime, you had something that you wanted to.
I was gonna say, speaking of the Supreme Court, there is a big indictment that came out this week from the Department of Justice. So there is like a little socialist, and it's like, I know I'm going to be bringing up like fucking like absolute like lefty baseball here, but there's a movement in America. There's like some socialists here in America that call themselves the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement. They usually refer to themselves as the Uhuru movement. Essentially, these are like some black nationalists, black lefties, like views on like reparate, like they have some like views on reparation and some views on colonialism that are unique to them. A bunch of stuff like that. But they've been around since like 60s, 70s. Kind of one of these socialist groups that are popping up along with the civil rights struggle. And they've been around for quite a while. They have organizations in like, mostly they're in kind of like Missouri and Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida, and I believe Kansas City, Missouri, or St. Louis, Missouri. Anyway, so they've been around a while, and they're being targeted by the DOJ for, according to the indictment, defendants sought to sow discord, spread pro-Russian propaganda, and interfere in elections within the United States. And most of this what this like indictment is getting at is that it's basically saying that they were working with a guy named Alexander Inonov, who is basically like supplying them with money to interfere in elections. Now, that's mainly what this indictment is getting at, is that like they are spreading pro-Russian propaganda and getting money from this to like fund elections and interfere in elections. And the thing is that like when I looked at the Washington Post with this, it's like it straight up is like going with like, yes, this is the indictment that's brought against them, and it's like completely correct. And I just wanted to say that, yeah, I think that a lot of these charges are pretty trumped up. Like, I think that honestly, like their lawyers will be able to talk about will be able to dispute whatever's going to come against them. And mostly I just want to like get at it. So like, I think that it's mostly like last summer they got raided, and it's like and by what I mean I mean like the leader of the Uhuru movement, who's like this 81-year-old dude.
Yeah, I see that. Amali Yeshitela.
Yeah, that guy. And essentially he got raided with like flashbang grenades, like drones, electrical interference, basically came in like they're ready to kill. Like really, really big overkill for for like an old guy that isn't really a threat. And it's much more of a message of, hey, like we don't like what the hell you guys are doing. We see what you're up to. We don't fucking like it. And we're coming after you with all of this. And mostly what they're really trying to get at that with them is like, what surprises me is like the sowing discord thing, where it's like, okay, like, and if they're trying to come at like articles that they have or like views that they have, it's like,
well, I think what they are alleging specifically, what the indictment specifically is about, is that this group took money from the Russian government and has not disclosed it. Yeah, they are a nonprofit organization, so by law they have to disclose all of their funding.
Yeah, but I think their lawyers will be able to talk about like what's really up with it, because it could be as simple as something like, yes, said person is part of said other organizations. They let whatever person join, yada, yada, yada. But like, they're trying to make it come out to like that, no, they're being controlled by this Russian agency that when, first of all, this movement's been around longer than any of this stuff, like than any of these Russian agencies that are popping up in them. But like, they're trying to use them as a reason to say that like, oh no, don't worry about defending these people, because like they are assuredly like working with the Russians. They are working with the enemy, and like it's okay to come after them because they're not like a huge movement or anything. They've been around for a minute, but this is usually how these type of things start, with really going after people who are dissenting during like the start of a really big conflict. Is that they start just like labeling them with like a big perceived enemy, and they start with smaller ones. Like they start with like littler movements that might not get defended as much, that, you know, the Woohoo movements has like, they have some radical views that like that many even socialists might not even agree with. And like, you know, and that's the thing, like it's a factioned off lefty group that like is isolated in its own right. But also they're a lefty group that, much like the Black Panthers, they're really more focused on like communal organizing, on like on throwing little farmers market to get people together, to get working class people together. That is mainly kind of their focus. That's kind of the group they've always been. And then, yeah, sometimes like run people in elections and stuff. Mainly local things that like will affect like small little communities. And they're trying to grow with it. Like, right. Like kind of what any leftist organization really kind of wants to do.
Yeah.
So I kind of see this as a way to kind of like a way for the Justice Department to like go through a crack that they see, and whether or not like, and the indictment is mostly focusing on like, it's the scary Russian that's funding them. It's like, you don't know like what's coming through them. They're foreign agents. Like that's what it's all focusing on, which I honestly think that like once their lawyers are able to come out swinging with it, I think that they'll be able to kind of like block back some shit with it. But like the rest of it that scares me is just the sowing discord part, where it's like okay, well, even if these people have opinions that the state may disagree with, or even that aren't very popular, that's still protected by the First Amendment.
It is.
Like it's like the whole and even if you're going to try to pull the whole like, oh, you can't cry fire in a movie theater thing, well, that was only started like with the start of the Sedition Act, and like, with people protesting World War I, and saying like, well, a judge is basically saying that like, well, that's a general danger to the public, is to like, you know, be anti-war during a big conflict like that. And we're not really at war right now. Like you can argue it's a proxy war, but like there's not actual like, the United States has not declared war.
Yeah, like
it's not like that whole like the Bill of Rights still gets to stand. It still gets to stand up, and it's just it's just a little discouraging with it. And whether or not like they come after the guy, which I mean, you know, kind of sounds like an Alexei Navalny type of thing. Like whether they do come up to him, like, yeah, and they can make a defense for themselves. It's mostly the language about the about the sowing discord part, because it's like largely this organization's is kind of like a bring people together type of thing, and how easily the DOJ, or really, I mean, most of these institutions can really just paint it out to be quite the opposite of that. Like, as in, it's one of these like black groups that are like trying to promote like to like cross-racial hatred, basically. Like, it's like they're using it to be a hate group, which is not the case at all.
Well, yeah, it's something we can definitely keep an eye on as their case moves forward.
And I was just saying, I just wanted to bring it up only because
I
hated what the Washington Post said about it. And it's something, it's something I definitely want to kind of pay more attention to, because it's like, it's the kind of leftists they're going to come after first, especially like, you know, black nationalists. They get so much fucking hate. They get, especially like from lefties too. Like it's really infuriating to see it, where it's like, well, God damn it. Like even if like you don't see completely eye to eye with another group, like you can still obviously see that they're being oppressed like this, that like they're being clearly targeted, and they're being targeted because because the feds think they can get away with it, because they know there's not going to be anyone to like come and fight for them or like even say anything about it. And that sucks. That shit shouldn't be the fucking case. Like that's we need solidarity with these people, even if like, and it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't see eye to eye. Tim, you and I don't see eye to eye and everything, but no. I don't fucking care. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I still want you to have all the rights that like we are entitled to, that like the Constitution entitles us to. Like,
yeah,
truly.
I mean, honestly, Kelly, I agree 100%. I think this actual case is going to come down to, does the government have, you know, money transfers from sanctioned Russian bank accounts?
From sanctioned Russian bank accounts. I mean, yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. They did raid all their shit.
Yeah.
So this summer. So it's like, it's a matter of, well, like, we're going to see. But even if they did, do you think that was used to like create like Russian interference in local elections? Because that's what they're alleging. And I think that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, if they're getting money from the Russian government, though, you have to disclose that. That's just the law.
Yeah, but I think like what all that's here is that like there was a guy who was involved in another organization in Russia, and they're saying that that's the link. And it's just like, well, okay, like it's possible. Like, I'm not going to say
that's what I'm saying. I'm looking forward. Yeah, I would say we should keep an eye on the trial, because it'll come down to what the feds actually have on these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But I guess this is a good like lead off into since we're talking about the Department of Justice and how some news organizations like to handle things like that, and you know, the show we're going to talk about soon. There's also an interesting settlement that was done outside of the courtroom between Fox and was it between Fox and Dominion, or was it Fox / Dominion? And
no, it was Fox. It was Fox versus Dominion.
Versus Dominion. Okay, but yeah, Fox pays out to Dominion.
It was like $756 million.
Oh, really? That's the number?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's honestly kind of unprecedented in American law, because America is kind of known the world over for having like one of the like in the UK, for example, it's fucking easy to get a libel decision against somebody, because like basically you just have to show the things that they're saying aren't true.
Yeah.
In America, you have to say you did it. You have to say A, it's not true. B, they knew it's not true. And C, they did it anyways because of malicious intent.
Yeah, you did it to hurt me.
So like big libel decisions like this are fucking unheard of.
Yeah.
In this country. So the fact that Fox looked at like all the evidence that Dominion had against them, and we've seen the text messages from like Rupert Murdoch, Tucker Carlson, the other fucking batshit crazy people they have on that network, being like, oh man, these Trump claims are like fucking bogus and like wild and ridiculous. And then being like, well, all of our crazy ass viewers are leaving us for fucking OAN and shit like that because we're not we're not singing, we're not pandering to them.
Yeah.
So then they're like, all right, we'll just put this out anyways.
I mean,
and Fox has been caught like lying and hiding evidence multiple times, and like throughout this process, they tried to like hide the fact that Rupert Murdoch was an officer of Fox News. They were like, oh yeah, he's the CEO of Fox Corp, but he's not actually an officer at Fox News. And then like right before the trial, it came out that like, oh no, he's actually the CEO of Fox News too. And they tried to be like, we forgot. Rupert Murdoch, guys, Rupert Murdoch forgot that he was actually the CEO of Fox News.
And it slipped his mind. It slipped his mind.
It's an honorary title. He's not in the news. You know, he's not behind the scenes in the newsroom every day. It's just an honorary title.
Right. He just likes to hang out there and tell stories. Okay, guys, he's retired.
yeah. He got up on a pinch of paper and shouted, "You're fucking pirates" that one time. But like that was just, you know, that's just Rupert.
That's just him doing his thing. All right, like it's like that guy who's like the head who would like own CBS.
Yes.
That also that other dude that like Succession is loosely based off of.
Yes. What, Sumner Redstone?
Yes. Yeah, Sumner Redstone.
Yeah.
Oh God. Anyway.
So yeah, it's honestly maybe good. Like we'll see what Kendall and Roman get up to with their version of Fox News as we move into our Succession talk. So yeah, this is kind of like a weird episode, difficult to summarize. So we'll just kind of, I think, go through it and then give our thoughts as we go. So we open with like, it's like a montage showing the kids.
Yeah.
You see Kendall, and he's just looking fucking broken.
Each of their own private spaces. Yeah.
Kendall
looks like how Roman did. Yeah.
Like Kendall is just like fucking mourning. You know, you get one of those classic Jeremy Strong. Jeremy Strong's face is just like, holy shit. Like, yeah. Clearly, the guy's like kind of a pain in the ass to work with, but like a man who
shows in the work,
that kind of perform. Yeah, you can see the work in his face in moments like that. It's great.
Yeah.
And then Roman's just like fine. He's just like going about his business. You know, he pre-grieved, so he's all right.
And then you see pre-grieved.
Yeah, and then you see Shiv, and like Shiv's a mess throughout all of this. But then we also get the reveal that Shiv is pregnant.
Yeah, with a very awkward phone call from her doctor that like her like where her doctor's kind of expecting her to be excited, and Shiv is just kind of like trying to not be vulnerable and show vulnerability, but she's still kind of going like, oh, like, okay, like she's kind of like hoping that like it's like her doctor's gonna say like something like bad at all, like is it a miscarriage? Like is there any chance of a miscarriage?
Because it seems like she's not only pregnant, she's pretty far along.
Yes.
Like I obviously women's health is not my area of expertise, but I do listen to podcasts and hosts who would have more of a grasp on this stuff were saying that like based on the conversation they would put Shiv at like the 16 to 18 week pregnant range. She got a little, to use Judge Kaczmarek, she's got a little pre-human in there, a little unborn human in there.
Yeah, but she's going.
And that's kind of crazy, right? Like Shiv is pregnant. Tom is like what? Like probably the father, right?
I would say. Well, that's the weird thing is
probably,
that it's
probably Tom, and probably not that like little shitty fucking like political operative.
That worked for a failed. That's working for a failed campaign, because if that Bernie Sanders clone is anything like the real Bernie Sanders, he would have dropped out like a quarter way through the race when he just got some momentum by coming to his opponent and saying that I would vote for him still.
Fuck. Anyway, so yeah, Shiv is pregnant. All right, then we follow Kendall for this next part. He goes to the house. He sees Marsha is back from being
Marsha is back, dude.
like I think a couple episodes ago, Carrie had been like, Marsha is gone. Marsha is shopping in Venice forever. But no, Marsha, no, Carrie, I'm sorry, you flew too so. You came up against a bigger, better bitch than you, and she is sitting there looking fierce, assuring Kendall that she has had intimate talks with
every night.
Like what a wild thing to say.
I just love Sarah Schnook's line of just like, oh, I love that image of like, you know, her having phone sex with her dad every night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before he fucks Carrie, or after he fucks Carrie. Yeah, no, and that was great too, because like she comes, and the thing is that she's there before the siblings are there, and like it's like as in like it's almost like the first episode, because like they're in Logan's apartment.
It really is it does feel kind of like Roman. Yeah, the first episode, everyone's in the house, but just Logan's not there too.
Yeah, and like and much like how you first met Marsha, and you Marsha, you knew that she was kind of like a stone cold killer, like from the start. You knew that she was kind of that like gold digger who's been like, no, I've been with a rich dude before. I kind of know how this is going. Like I know how to suck up and when to do my thing. I'm a business person myself, you see.
I mean the way she fucking just spins Connor around and gets a fucking 63. We'll get to that. But yeah, we'll get to that. First, we go into we have the kids together. We get the stuff about like pre-grieving. I don't fucking believe you. Stuff like that. I don't think this is the part about reading the news. This is the part. Is this the part where they talk to Madsen? I have a note about like what the fuck happened with Madsen, or is that a little bit later?
I think that's like a touch later before they find out.
Greg comes in and is like, hey, my lovely guys.
He's looking for a boat to like to sling his dinghy onto.
No boat for you, Greg.
Maybe there's Marsha. There's maybe Marsha.
He has been working his thing with Marsha. That was like a real thing. He's been trying to put that thing on Marsha throughout this entire episode. Right. A good thing to note is that when Kendall he walks past Hugo, leaving a voicemail for his daughter, talking about, you took out a strap-on and fucked me in the ass on this one.
Oh man. The classic. I imagine a phone call that Joe Biden has had with one of his sons, like at least a couple of times. At least a couple of times. Although it would have been nice if he actually got boned.
You never heard of like clearing your fucking hard drive? You really fucked me on this one.
What you left it at the shop? You don't know where you didn't pick it back up, son. What the fuck?
Anyway, yeah. Let's see here. I would know what happens with Madsen. We'll cover We'll swing back to Madsen.
Yeah.
The next thing that happens is we see the corporates. The corporates are conferring, and Tom is there too.
This cat's a fucking terrorist, Tim. I'm sorry.
I wanted to point out, because like Carl is still trying to be, hi Georgie, or is that Friday?
Oh, that's Georgie. Georgie. But anyway, Carl is trying to be.
Carl's still trying to be like diplomatic regarding the kids about why none of them should be the leaders, because, and then Tom's like, because they're screw ups and dipshits.
Yeah.
And then,
I did love this scene in there too, where like, because Tom was also in the same kind of boat Greg was too, where it's like, damn, my big old yacht I'm attached to just died, it just sank, so I need to like go on to other thing I can.
Tom is floundering.
Yeah, and much like Greg, it's like all the siblings hate him. Like they don't trust him at all. And really all of the board
Shiv is probably still carrying his child.
You don't know that.
You don't know that.
You don't know that.
And I'm like, yeah, how does what does that do? You know?
And that's the thing. It's like we hadn't seen this kid to term yet. Like, it's like a lot of things could happen. Like Shiv, I feel like Shiv's pretty. Shiv has like a lot of thoughts in her mind that she can go with. But anyway, yeah, Greg.
Yeah, so they go the corporates and Tom go into the little kitchen meeting where we get some like all-time great Succession lines.
It almost makes you think about like guys leaving a party to like go like smoke a joint, like sneak away from a party, but they're
admiring Logan's fine china, and Tom is eating fish tacos. But like, all right, obviously the Tom takedown is great, but like Carl brings himself up as a candidate, and the way Jerry cuts it's like, Carl, I think you're a corporate legend. What you did in the 90s with cable, amazing. And it's like, oh my God, Jerry.
Just have that hand ready to smack him down. Have that hand ready, Jerry. But then Carl snaps back with just like, he was gonna fire you. Like,
he was gonna fire you.
He was gonna fire you.
He was gonna fire you. Like, and she's like, I don't think there's any fucking piece of paper that says that anywhere. And then obviously Tom puts his hat in the ring and then gets immediately cut down. Poor Tom. Yeah, I'm still pulling for Tom.
Yeah.
Because oh yeah. I just like that Tom eating the fish taco. It's just great.
And the commentary from Jerry just going like, "Oh, be careful, you might get your melancholy everywhere."
Right, and then that's right. So this is where we go back to the kids, and we see that. All right, yeah, this is where we see that the kids have already fucked up the Madsen deal. That like the basic premise everyone is operating on, that Kendall and Roman are just going to come in and see this deal through. That ain't going to happen because Matt, they talked to his assistant with a weird fucking. I couldn't place his accent. His assistant has like a very distinctive voice. Someone said he sounded like Sebastian Gorka, the Trump, the little fascist Trump aide. I know that doesn't narrow it down, but
so he went through a lot of those.
Yeah, he did. So I think the Madsen deal is already pretty fucked. We'll see how that plays out, but I don't think this is going to be a smooth landing.
It sounds like Madsen is kind of wants to back out now.
Right. All right. So then next is when we go back to Marsha, and Greg is there putting the moves on her. Yeah. And that's when Connor and Willa come in, and they say that as soon as the funeral is over, they are honeymooning in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan because Connor Roy is a smarter fucking politician than Hillary Clinton.
Or
I'm
Bernie
just gonna
Sanders.
put that out there.
Or Bernie Sanders.
Well, yeah, no, but Connor Roy is like, oh yeah, I know that if I want to get votes, I actually have to go to the fucking swing states, which is something that apparently escaped Hillary Clinton in 2016, and greatly contributed to where we are now as a country.
Well, Connor just wants to get those numbers up a little bit. He just wants to be famous. He wants, like, he's not. That's the thing, is that like he knows he's not going to win, and he's still more in it to win it than Hillary was.
Yeah, no, he's fucking. Man, Connor.
As he travels to, as Wanda calls it, the honeymoon states.
Yes, the Willa,
sorry, Wanda. As Willa calls it, the honeymoon states.
Yeah, and then, man, this little bit of real estate negotiation. It's like, it's not even fair because like Connor is fundamentally stupid and doesn't understand.
Even if he wasn't grieving, he'd still be a perfect sap for it. Like,
yeah. And she's just like, I'm looking to sell this place for, what was it, like between 60 and 70, which is clearly like a super high number that she's expected to be negotiated down on. But Connor, plus his soft little mind is like, 63, and she just is like, yeah, fuck, hell yeah. I just cleared 15 million more than I ever expected to on this place. Like, yeah, let's do it.
And on a handshake. Like, on a handshake.
She does the spit head. Like, that's how you know that Marsha is a real one. That's how you know that whatever else she did in her life, you know, at some point Marsha came up through through some shit.
Oh, I at least in some way or fashion, this woman had to have like at least been picking up on like how the men she's with are running the business. If she was not running one herself, like
I know that like spin-off culture and like obsession with established IPs is ruining like global media, but like I would not mind a young Marsha and Logan story of what were you like in your prime and what was it about you that got
yeah, you gonna watch her reading to Logan about the Mayans.
Yeah. I feel like blood sacrifice culture would have appealed to Logan Roy.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, like at the end of the day, he used that analogy to say that's why like Kendall should put his head in the chopping block and do the prison time, which basically led to the decision of like, well, if my back's this much against the wall, I guess I'm gonna have to kind of fight a little bit. That's the only way I'm gonna be a killer. But anyway, yeah, no.
So then,
Go on.
Oh, sorry. No. Sorry. What were you?
Oh, I was just gonna say I wanted to highlight just how much I loved, like just like as soon as Connor says like I know we shouldn't talk about this, like Marsha's eyes just light up, and it's just like the trap is like being set, like the flower it's there, and Connor is just going.
She's a straight killer.
Yeah, straight killer with it. But yeah, that's one of my favorite moments of the episode. One of my favorites.
So after that, I think is the scene we first get to. We get the letter. We get Frank and Carl in the office, and immediately they're like, oh man, we should like flush this shit. This is nothing but a mess. And like the letter felt weird. It's like a weird little plot device. I really only have like one quibble with the writing in this episode, and we'll get to that later. But like the letter at first felt weird to me, but I liked the way it played out because it's like,
yeah, they find a letter in Logan's safe,
and it's like informal. No, A, the family doesn't control it. B, it was never like filed with any kind of lawyer.
Yep.
So it's just his scribbling stuff. It's like I do love noting that he wanted Catholic music. Like that was like one of the only other things they bring up. It was like Catholic music at the funeral. Kendall is CEO ? And there's like $100 million worth of art in Geneva. Leave it there for tax purposes. But like, just as a side note, you will never catch me saying anything good about the Catholic Church, except some of their music pretty much slaps.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Tim praising the Catholic Church. You heard it here first, folks. That's some big. That's the thing.
I can't fault Logan for his music choices.
Well, for the Catholics love a good dirge. I know one thing. They love a good dirge, and they love a good statue. Like
they do. I was like, Logan, even Catholic, it's weird. Maybe we'll get more into that. Maybe we'll get more into that when it comes to his funeral.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, well, we haven't even seen that. We haven't even seen like what the election's like yet, and that's the thing. Is like we're in like this is still before Super Tuesday. Like I thought we were gonna get this election like.
Oh, it's not Super Tuesday because the primaries are done. This is I think what's fast approaching is the general election.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when the president nominees Secret Service guards show up, I think Roman makes a comment of like he could be president this time next week.
Yep. That is. Well, anyway, we should get back to like before that.
So the letter comes in. Jerry speculating in a humorous mode about the fate of the letter.
Yeah.
Jerry comes in.
And they tell their little like shred it, destroy it idea to Jerry, and Jerry says, "Yes, that is a very funny joke." Through the skin, like lying through the skin of her teeth, also kind of wishing that she kind of make this little mess go away as well. And it's like you say, Tim. It's like it's nothing like permanent. It's just it's an indication that makes things a little messier.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting for a
right. Yeah. We'll get into like the purpose the letter actually serves later on. We see the kids again. Kendall is like getting roasted for having a therapist and like like talking through his grief.
What are you?
Like,
what are you
fucking
taking care of
nerd?
mental health? Like you fucking what are you? What are you, a fucking
gay?
weakling? Yeah, like are you gay? Are you queer? Like just do some drugs, Kendall. Like that's better for you.
So then we get the Hugo moment, and to me, this is honestly one of the biggest stumbles in writing that I've seen this show make, because I just don't really buy on any level that Hugo would just go to Kendall and spill all his business like that.
Right. Like I would
First off, why would Hugo go to anybody when like he's the guy who covers up the dirt? That's what he's always doing. That's what he's always done. Why would he go to anyone? And then especially, why would he go to Kendall Roy with this?
I know. Yeah, that is a bit of a that is a bit of a.
And I get why they do it. They want to set up Kendall's like Machiavelli reveal later on, but it that was a moment that felt weird. Didn't feel in line with like the characters or anything.
Yeah. Definitely like an out of character moment for Hugo, but I'm assuming they kind of go with that because he's desperate. At least it's better explanation than Game of Thrones is giving with like with Tyrion's character assassination.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I'll give them, they didn't throw away the character completely, but I can excuse it because the rest of the writing is still pretty damn good. But yeah, it isn't after that, like, isn't that when Kendall and the siblings get called in?
First we get another great scene of this episode where all four kids are together and they're just reading obituaries. They're reading one of their dad's obituaries and translating it. And I love that. Of like great reader of the national mood, racist.
Yeah.
A man of his time, racist, also very fine with sexual assault.
Oh fuck, that's great. Oh my god, of knowing how dad really was. And that's fun when you see that. It's fun when you see the siblings actually bonding when dad's not there. It makes you think about like when they're on the yacht and they're all actually having fun. They're doing like the squeaky voices and shit. Right. And it's like, in a way, that is kind of the tragedy of like, yes, these kids are fucking idiots and fuck ups who do not deserve any scrap of the life they live. But like when they're just four normal people, yeah, they can chill. They can have good vibes together. It's like it's like they have a chance. And it's like, it's just, if they weren't surrounded by this fucking like corrupted lifestyle, kind of like what their great uncle is saying. Like it's kind of like what
their great uncle probably had the right idea of like, I'm just going to move out to this ranch and be by myself.
Stay away from all this shit. Like I'm actually going to work.
Honestly, if I had money, I would probably go that route.
It's not a bad idea. if he had like a super rich brother who does hate you, but it's like, yeah, here's this much, do something with yourself, and it's like, yeah, I will. Like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm not gonna like lose it at the fucking Wall Street casino.
Okay, yeah, and then on the way, so then the kids get called to go talk to the corporates about the letter, and that's when Tom makes his first approach to Kendall, and Kendall gives him that. It's kind of a classic Logan line, I like you, Tom. Good luck, and then he just walks away.
Yeah.
So yeah, they present the letter, and it's like then it becomes clear of like what purpose the letter is showing in this episode. It's one final from the grave mindfuck of Logan to Kendall. of like. Was his name underlined or was it crossed out?
Well, we should get into the specifics of like, it's a line that says like, I wished who I wish to be the next CEO upon my death is Kendall Roy, and with that underline, and I'm sure the fucking
is it an underline because it's
it's an
line
underline
that like starts below the word and then ends through the word. So is that an underline or is it a scribble?
That kind of starts a little bit before Kendall, but then kind of goes through like the end of like Dull, and
by
like,
the end of it, there's clearly a line through like the last of his name, but like the start of it is underlined. So it's like it's a perfect fuck. Yeah. It's a perfect mind fuck.
It's a perfect fuck, and it's perfect too because it fits with like how Logan was, where it's like something that's important that you can totally see him doing in like a fit of rage of like sloppily crossing out something. Yeah. Like when he's pissed off at Kendall one day and then just throwing
one of the one of the ones that like Roman says in this thing of like you've tried to send dad to jail like a dozen times since then
like right like and because like I'm not sure when the series like started, like it's like what like
that's
like a year.
I don't know if it's been a year or if it's been 4 years. It's unclear. I'm more inclined to say it's been about a year. I guess the primary stuff from season 3 was through season 3, right?
I think
where they went to where they were at the RNC.
Yes.
Yes. So that it seems like it's been at least a year between season 3 and now, or 6 months or whatever. Because the conventions happen in like what early summer in general election years.
Usually late summer.
Anyways, that's all irrelevant. We can talk about the time like the timeline that the rest of the season might be following later.
But anyway, the siblings and Kendall kind of go over how
there's like some sparring there of Shiv is like, this is an underline or this is a cross out, and then Kendall immediately hits back, well, it sure as fuck doesn't say Shiv on here. Greg comes in. First Carl has like you guys it would be ideal if that $100 million of rare art were just set on fire so you could collect insurance money on it. These people are monsters. And then Greg comes in, fucking is told he is told, Greg, your name is on a piece of paper of spirit of other assorted matters with a question mark, and Greg is immediately like,
second in line.
That clearly means that he meant for me to be the number 2 behind Kendall. It's hilarious, and everyone acknowledges it as like fucking hilarious.
There's like Carl just tell him like nice try, kid. That was a good shot.
Good try, kid. Yeah, good shot, kid. Like, why not? You miss all the shots you don't take.
Pretty much. He's gonna get. I mean, hey, he'll hit a homer one day. You just watch.
Foul ball. So then after that, we get Frank talking to Kendall a little bit as everyone leaves.
Oh, I love it.
And Frank's like, yeah, you seem so well, Ken. You're doing good. I'm like, first off, is he? But then like Frank raises a good point of like, you should just be away from all of this.
All this bullshit. Like it was very strange coming from one of the corporate people. Like it's one of those moments
where Frank and Kendall have always had, like, I think we learned early on that Frank is actually Kendall's godfather. Like throughout the entire show, Frank and Kendall have always had like a closer relationship than like any of the corporate.
When they were gonna overthrow Logan in the first season, I think that
Frank was with him. Yeah,
Frank was with him on that, and because he knew what was up, but like, anyway, in the middle,
and that especially after because like Logan fired Frank to make room for Roman.
Yes. But anyway, Frank, he asked those obvious questions because he kind of knows that like Kendall feels like shit. Like he kind of knows that he kind of wants
to
pry into it. But Kendall starts revealing like his inner doubts about but it's like, nah, he's still like, it, like he's thinking those doubts about like whether it's cross out are clearly starting to like get to him of like, no, like he couldn't stand me. He hated me. He hated me. He could not stand me. He did any of this. And then Frank, it's so sad because it's like,
sometimes
it's one of those,
he wanted you sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like, no, and it's saying that the honest thing, but like he really got that point to Kendall, that emotional little point that he didn't have to do, that like had nothing to do with like him like crawling his way up in it. He just had to tell him that, yeah, no, your dad did love you. He was an old bastard. He was an old bastard, and he loved you. Like, which is really what Kendall wanted to hear. Like that's really all he needed to hear from his dad. Like he needed to hear that from Logan Roy. And really, like, the closest moments he ever got to that was like when his dad was like trying to like extort him, or even the little moment where he like shares a hamburger with his dad for like a few minutes. Like really those little moments are really probably the best times he ever had with his father.
Yeah.
And Frank having to tell him that like after his father has passed, and like get past all the corporate shit and just like relate on a human level and say that no, like he just is like a piece of shit, but like he does love you. Like he did, you were his number one boy. Like, but even so, it's like with this perfect, like, cross/underline, it's like it's a nice little how do they describe it? It's a nice little fucking what are those tests? Rorschach test for each of the siblings and each of the corporates of like what this really is, like what does this really represent? Well, based on what you want, what you think. But no, it was a really sweet moment. It was a really good little emotionally driven moment. That's like, oh, one of those moments in Succession that a genuine moment in Succession, which are very rare, like very, very, very rare.
Speaking of which, wait, so we get Shiv's head is a fucking mess. I think this is where she's talking to Tom, and she says like she lost something she wanted, and I mean I think I kind of get what she meant by that in a way. Like what she wanted was a loving father who would be a good grandfather to her children, but like the crazy thing is that Shiv should know that was never gonna fucking happen. That like even if Logan hadn't just dropped dead, the fantasy she has in her head of like Logan rocking his grandkids to sleep, that was never in a million years gonna fucking happen.
That wasn't Logan.
That wasn't Logan. I'm like, yeah, does he love Shiv? Sure. Would he have loved his grandkid? Sure.
I'm sure he would have too, but
what for a guy like Logan, that's never going to mean I'm going to rock you to sleep.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm ever gonna like spend time with you or even like show basic affection 99%.
Giving you the nurture that a father or a grandfather needs, because he doesn't understand it. Like he's
especially devoid of the context of like wanting stuff, because like most of the time we've ever seen Logan say nice things to his children, it was because he directly wanted something from them in that moment.
He's a fucking pirate. Like at the end of the day, a pirate can't be a good granddad.
Yeah.
You have to be an ex-pirate. You have to be an ex-pirate. Then you might have a chance. But yeah, like that whole time, like Tom is trying to pry in a little bit, and Shiv is doing.
I'm trying to remind her of like the first time they. So I feel like there is still something there between Shiv and Tom.
I think
I feel like there has been all. Yeah, like I don't know. Shiv's head is a fucking mess right now. Who knows what's going on in that twisted up mess of her brain? But like, I feel like there is still something there between the two of them.
Oh yeah, like, oh yeah. I mean, I think
there was that like beautifully tender scene in the first episode where they're just laying together on their bed in their apartment with their poor neglected dog.
Yeah. And it's Tom again trying to reach out, trying to talk and discuss things, and like Shiv is just staying shelled up, and it's honestly like I hate Shiv. Like if Shiv was like my partner, we would have been done. Like it's like she's the worst. Like she is the fucking worst, and like in pretty much most capacities, like as a wife and as a partner. well, one and the same basically, but like, as a partner, she absolutely sucks ass, and like Tom really could do. I think as much of a piece of shit as Tom has been, as much as like he was like guilting himself during his bachelor party, I'm like, I think he could do better. I think he could find someone who would treat him better, but
that would mean giving up the same thing everybody else in the show wants.
Yes,
which is just the entire fucking world is what they all want. But
and that's why they're willing to do things like get cucked practically, or play Boar on the floor, or put up with Boar on the floor, and not tackle the old fuck. After Tom and Shiv have their little lovely conversation,
then we move into goddamn, what's the actor's name? Is it Stephen Rush or
guy who's Hugo?
No, the guy who was giving that speech about Logan.
Oh, the guy who's if you watch
from Barry.
Yeah, the guy from the older guy from Barry. What's his name in Barry? Fuck, Fuchs from Barry.
Fuchs from Barry.
Yeah,
Stephen Root. Yes.
Who was at like the RNC and was like trying to be the pick next candidate, but he was giving the big old rousing speech about Logan and how he like and basically the siblings are all reacting like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? Like, speaking.
Well, yeah. So that like Tom is making up stories to horrify Greg, or to really he's kind of doing that like Big Brother thing where he like is winding Greg up and then immediately slapping him down as soon as like Greg joins in.
Yeah. He's a piece of shit. I love it.
And then Connor is just taking umbrage with what flavor of crazy right-wing nutbag his father was. He wasn't a neoliberal, Killian. He was a paleo libertarian.
Well, I didn't think...
practically an anarcho-capitalist.
Practically. He does want the government to step in and like crush his opponents and crush his opposition if possible.
Logan spent way too much time on the phone with the president to ever be an anarcho-capitalist, in my view. But
I think so too, and I think a lot of anarcho-capitalists like don't like to see a lot of realities in my experience, but that's their world, and Connor is living in it with you guys. So like, God love you. I don't think he'll be president, but am I gonna like to see this campaign? A lot to say about that then.
So then next is the Carrie scene. Fucking Carrie.
Oh, and with Greg especially with the nice side commentary because he's trying to suck up to Mark.
Side commentary, just a fucking vulture. Carrie stumbles, spills her bag, and then oddly enough, it's Roman there. Roman is there doing the emotional labor in this moment of like helping Carrie, trying to be like, hey, do I have your number so we can like keep in touch and shit if you need anything. Like, completely disingenuous too. I don't know. It's to me, I'm not sure. I don't think it was a genuine moment of human kindness from Roman, but I don't know. It was like, because Roman has always operated on like a deeply like twisted like psychosexual subconscious level, like all this stuff with Jerry and stuff. Like, is this because this man had serious daddy issues, and is like picking up his dad's like last sloppy seconds. Is that going to do something for the weird fucking mess that is Roman's? It could be. I can see your point with it, Tim. I was kind of more so thinking of like a person you don't want to see at a funeral, and like you just kind of want to fuck off, and you just that's what Marsha. I mean, everybody, but like I mean, everyone else was just sitting there watching her. Yeah. And Marsha especially. Marsha's doing the power move about it. Like she's going like, no, call her a taxi to send her to the subway so she can go back to her little apartment. What a cold. It's like not even a taxi to take her all the way to her apartment. we're gonna drop that bitch off at the subway.
We know the journey you're gonna have home, and we're gonna remind you of the journey you're gonna have home.
This is your proper role in the world.
To go back to your tiny apartment.
Yeah. Taking the subway with your huge ass bags. Like, what a monster.
Well, I mean, Gravy Train's up. And honestly, too, it's like everyone kind of saw it from the start of like, well, like, what is she worth? Like the only worth that she has is she has Logan's good favor. And once he's out of the picture, it's like, oh, but you to us, like, you don't serve any of our interests at all.
And it's like, it's a weird kind of scorn for Carrie because she's the one who didn't make it. Like, we get that moment where Marcia is like, says to Willow, like, hey, welcome to the club. Look how far you've come. You are a rich wife now.
Yeah.
And Willow's like, the both of us, like, you and I are the same. Yeah. Carrie was doing her, that was a great line from Willow.
Yeah.
Like, Willow can play the game a little bit too now, but Carrie just did not get over the hump. She was playing the same game, but got in too late.
Yeah.
Didn't show up until the fourth quarter, and things were already too late for her.
And especially with that exchange with Greg, and Greg is just Nick Braun just with another great performance of just like doesn't Harley like, oh, here come the waterworks.
Here comes the waterworks.
This again, just really performing on for
Well,
Marcia.
yeah. I mean, it was a great performance of him being like a borderline sociopath who was just terrible to women. Which, I mean, how much of that?
He's so cringy with it, like to the point of like he's play acting with it, where it's just like it's so obvious that it's like, man, you're trying way too hard with it. It's like so much, and it just keep going back to like, oh yeah, that nice like, well, she was gonna rip him apart like string cheese. And honestly, if I knew an enemy,
she was going to rip him apart like a piece of string cheese.
If I knew that like a very serious threat to me just got taken down like that, even if it was that unfair, like at the kind of deep down, I would be a little bit like, yeah, I'm just gonna rub your nose in that a little bit because you were so ready to take me down.
I think that honestly, I don't even think he was really thinking about Carrie there. I think that performance was 100% for Marcia. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think you're onto something there.
All right. Oh, then after that we have Tommy talking to Roman, and we get tightrope Tommy. Because Tom's refrain here is "I'm here to serve," and he tries to hit Roman with that like, there was only one person in this family your dad really wanted to be involved in the company. It wasn't Kendall and Shiv.
Mm-hmm.
And Roman just immediately is like, tightrope Tommy, driving your unicycle across Niagara Falls.
I mean, yeah, he's on it. He's throwing out the dinghies. Like I think he's got a better chance than maybe Greg does. Maybe not. Depends on how much Marshall likes him.
We'll see how things play out. I mean, I think this Madsen deal is going to be a fucking disaster, and then we will see where things really are.
Where the chips really fall.
Is Ken full? I have a note saying, is Ken full of shit? I think this is when he's talking to Stewie shows up, right?
Oh yeah.
And they're talking to Stewie, and Ken's like, "Oh yeah, I want to do the deal. I'm going to get this deal done." And like,
yeah, he's totally full of shit with that.
He's full of shit. Is Stewie full of shit? Like, what does Stewie want in all of this? You know?
Yeah, well, and it's funny because Stewie's kind of trying to like the words he's saying and how he's acting are kind of like, he gives his old college drinking buddy like a hug and like tells him it's okay. But like during that hug, I just kept thinking about like, I mean, like Kendall's face kind of looks like it's like, this is empty. Like I'm hugging a guy who's hugging me is a person who's like fucked me over to my face and been like, yeah, dude. And like now this guy's telling me like, oh, like I got your back and any of this. Like, it's like, I kind of thought that's what they were running with. Is that like, yeah, like he's...
Well, yeah, exactly. And Stewie does ultimately support Kendall's play to be CEO, or Kendall and Roman. But like,
yeah.
Does Stewie actually believe that Kendall is just going to get this deal done? Does he want the deal to fail? I'm curious about what Stewie's actual
Yeah, what his real leanings are, because
because
he's
here's when they talk about like COOs, and here's another thing. Maybe this is just a weird corporate America thing that I don't understand, but like Roman and Kendall have both scrapped with their dad, tried to kick him out of the company a couple times, tried to send him to jail, lately tried to like block the sale, were like absolutely estranged. But then they're like talking in this like meet like they're like, oh yeah, no, we're the COOs. And it's like, how are you two still COOs of this company that like neither of you even work at anymore, and that you guys have both just been like having constant clashes with your dad, who is the chairman / CEO? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know. I didn't hear anybody else talking about that. So maybe that is just a thing of like you can be you. Maybe it's one of those things where like how Rupert Murdoch forgot that he was the CEO of Fox News. It's like everyone kind of forgot that Kendall and Roman were the COOs of Roy Star Waco.
yeah, no. I mean, it's convenient when it does happen. You know, it's for like convenient amnesia. Yeah, I think we kind of like just skimmed over when Shiv got boxed out.
Yeah. So
Kendall,
this is that same conversation where like Roman and Kendall are coming around on the idea that they're going to be the co-CEOs, and Shiv is like, "What about me?" And they're like, again, Roman has the line of like, you know, 2 CEOs is already a fuck. 3 CEOs is like a modern bullshit fuck party. They aren't going to go for it.
Yeah. Which I honestly like. I see the logic behind that too. It's like I would rather want to package one person, if I have to, but like 3 is already. It's
3 is weird. Yeah, 3 is a mess.
Yeah.
But then they're like, "Oh no, don't worry, it's going to be equal as fuck down to the last gram." I think Kendall says, like the old druggie that he is. This is where, so this is where they kind of hash out what they want to happen. But like they're still talking about like getting the deal done, and I just fundamentally do not believe that this deal is going to happen.
I don't think it is. Yeah, it doesn't look very good. And I don't think that Kendall's got the business savvy or the leverage to
right. And we saw in last episode, you know, after Logan died, like they show the, you know, oh, this like 70% drop in our stock price, that's what dad is worth in the end.
Yeah.
So if their stock prices crash that hard, like why would Madsen still buy it? Especially at the original price. Like that none of that seems like tracks for actually happening.
Yeah.
And then that's after that is when Shiv trips and falls, right? And then she's like, she does the "don't touch me."
Yeah, from anyone. She's like, yeah, she's all fucked. Her head's all fucked up. Her head is all fucked up. She doesn't know. She doesn't know where her place in the world is right now.
Yeah,
like, and that's like
she throws a fit when fascist presidential candidate wants to come, and it's like again, kind of like with who your dad was. It's like, this is who your family is. This is the company that you want to be the CEO of. Is like, of course, the fascist presidential candidate is coming. Your fucking family picked him. Like. This is who you. He's
good for ratings.
Are with. Yeah,
he's good for ratings. Like he's good with the younger demographic. Terrifying.
So yeah, I think just Shiv has to get her head around what her actual situation in the world is, who her family is, what the company that she wants to be CEO of is, and maybe that's like either yes, I can be a monster and accept all of that, or maybe she's the one kid who actually gets out. Who knows?
Yeah. I think after that we get to because that's on their way to the meeting to talk. They're talking to corporate about like how they're going to move forward.
Yeah, that's the pre-board meeting where everything is actually decided.
Yeah,
and it really is decided when Stewie tries to come in, and the corporates are like, "This isn't appropriate for him to be here," and they're just like, "No, this is shut the fuck up, Stewie could be here." Because I think with the kids, and then Stewie, and then what's her face,
Sandy,
yeah,
she was there, wasn't she?
Yeah, they got she wasn't she was at the party, and you get that great line. Kendall goes off to talk to her old ass dad to schmooze, and then he reports that he was like, "Where is our? Why is this sex party so sad?"
For old fuck.
Apparently, that's another Sumner Redstone call out.
Oh, really?
Apparently, that dude loved his sex parties. I need to learn more about Sumner Redstone.
Yeah, I only heard him. I only got educated on him from the Succession podcast. Actually.
Yeah, same.
And I was like, oh, there's a lot of similarities here, and it's like, right. And I'm like, well, granted, he has a lot of media that like I've watched and quoted, and it's like, yeah, that's a big influence on the culture. But
I had never heard of him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A real, even more shadowy than Rupert Murdoch, which is saying something.
Yeah, that is saying something. Yeah, but during this meeting, what gets brought up is how they're gonna move forward with like how they want to present Logan Roy with.
So after it's decided in that we don't see the board meeting.
Yeah,
we see them come out and everyone's going, "All hail the kings," and then they go to Logan's office. And that's where, they're looking at the desk, and you get more of those like fucking iconic Jeremy Strong facial reactions of like, this is it.
So subtle, but it says so much.
What you fucking wanted since the first episode of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at his dad's jacket, like draped over the chair, his book of Sudoku just sitting on his desk. Which I kind of like the idea of like Logan just like chilling in his office, not working, just doing Sudoku.
Yeah, I like that too. Like anyone else, like it's like you want to fuck around.
Like my dad, like that could have been like a snapshot of my own dad's like desk at home, like Sudoku book and messy jacket and everything, like.
The whole yard, the whole yard of like all those little habits, and it's funny because they didn't even know he played Sudoku.
Yeah,
and it's like that's sad, but it's
these are all broken people.
Yeah.
So then the comms team, Caroline and Hugo, present two options of one, Operation Embalm Lennon, which is like the second oddly specific.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring up
because they brought in the in the We Are Pirates thing. He was Logan made that like real I forget what the actual term is, but this is like the second time this season that they've brought up weird Soviet political references.
Written by a socialist, everybody.
Yeah, so then two options are Embalm Lennon and Praise Be American Icon. And then the boys are just going to carry on his legacy, or
de-Stalinization. Like that's kind of, I mean, if we're making Soviet references, that's the other one I thought of too.
Yeah, I would compare it less to de-Stalinization and more to the end of Khrushchev, because
okay, there you go. Like that's
because after Khrushchev went, they were like, oh man, that guy was like wacky, right? Better undo everything he was doing.
Yeah. Well, Khrushchev was also trying to do that's also what he was doing at first too, was like go to the West, being like, hey guys, we're not going to be like those guys anymore, right? We're cool. We're cool.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So publicly together as a team, they're like, "Oh no, we're not gonna take a shit on Dad. We're not gonna do that." Roman lays down the law, and then the final moments of this episode is Kendall going to Hugo and being like, "Nope, we're gonna do shit on Dad, but you're gonna do it quietly by yourself and not involve anybody else." And then again, like Hugo is like, and then Kendall lays down that Logan hammer, and you get that Logan Roy smile. Yeah.
Of not having to like yell at him and threaten him, but just
quiet,
just quietly just go, well, something else you
guys, get out the strap. Do I have to get out the strap on? Yeah.
Do I have to get the strap on? And and not like a maniacal anything, just the subtle little smile of like him thinking of like, oh no, I can do this. Is what my dad would do. This is how my dad would handle it. He would say, fuck my legacy, drag it through the mud. That's not worth what I've built.
Right.
And it's like, and also I think about that, and I think that, I think that kind of would have been.
Logan didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
gonna say his own son's like a drug addict, and
that's exactly what his dad did to him. Yeah.
It's like, right, like it's whatever I can do to get ahead, really. Like, and do it behind my siblings' back, because hey, guess what? Mine was the name that was crossed out. All right. Which is gonna be,
well, we see that one moment where he's in the bathroom and he's just staring on his phone, and it's like, yes, even as CEO of Roystar Waco, he's going to be, I mean, whatever happens in his life, he is going to have that picture on his phone and is going to be staring at it for the rest of his natural life. It's truly tragic.
Yeah. It really is. It really is that all for all these people, but it's an exciting show. It's good storytelling. There's a lot to look forward to. There's still so much of a good, it's highlighting still what a good ensemble they still really have. I shout out to the guy. I gotta look up his name real quick, but like, shout out to the guy who played Frank for having that, like, for bringing such warmth to a series that like really has so little of it, and just being able to kind of Peter Friedman, who is like, I've seen him in a bunch of things that I can't really remember.
Yeah, he's that guy for sure.
Yeah, like but just a person being able to make a short role just really just pop. Like, man, I love it. That's one of my highlights of the episode was that scene with the two of them together, and of course, oh shit, of course, fucking oh god, they didn't even have his name right away. Not my Jeremy Strong. Yeah, Jeremy Strong just killing it with his acting. But yeah, dude, like, exciting episodes, exciting stuff to come up forward. I think we'll hopefully get a Logan funeral episode next time around. We'll have some nice, elegant, beautiful settings, and I'm sure like a lot more money and a lot more lavish parties than even the actors and the cast that gets to like perform for this and do this show actually get to go to themselves.
Yeah.
All right, but I think that does it for this week. But we will be back next Friday for more updates and more coverage of Succession and of the world.
Yes, indeed. Until then, see the banner below for your marching orders. Thank you to James Kunka. Thank you to Jennifer Much. And
big shout out to...
Yeah, I believe Killian's cats are ready for us to be done. So,
hungry.
So until next time, keep working.
Keep on working, folks.